Good evening, colleagues. You've had your 2-minute warning. I want to welcome everybody to our council meeting on November the 22nd, 2023. I now will call on Will Short, Regional Clerk, to conduct the roll call.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. Chair Redmond.
Present.
Councillor Craig. Present. Councillor Deutschman. Councillor Erb. Councillor Foxton.
Present.
Councillor Harris. Councillor Hunink.
Present.
Councillor James.
Present.
Councillor Liggett. Councillor McCabe. Councillor Salonen.
Present.
Councillor Shantz.
Present.
Councillor Verbanovic.
Present.
Councillor Williams.
Present.
And Councillor Wolf. And we have regrets from Councillor Nowak. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, colleagues. I would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Chunatan people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements, and their contributions to our community. I'll now entertain a motion to go into open session. Moved by Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Salonen. Please use your e-scribe to vote. And this is for council to reconvene in open session.
I'm voting yes.
Is a yes.
Thank you, colleagues. That is carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Councillor James.
Through you, Chair Redmond, I have to declare an indirect pecuniary interest on item FS-231107 under the ANF agenda item 3 as the one of the art galleries mentioned is a client through my business.
Thank you. Duly noted. Colleagues, we have no presentations, no petitions, and no delegations. We are now going to deal with the minutes of previous meetings. I'm looking for a motion to move and second items 8.1 through 8.12. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Craig. Please use your e-scribe to vote. Councillor Harris, did you vote? Colleagues, that is carried. The council information package and correspondence are listed and distributed to council electronically. These items are received for information unless anyone has something that they would like to bring forward at this moment in time. Seeing none, the next agenda item is motion to go into Committee of the Whole to consider reports. If I could have a mover. Moved by Councillor Hunink, seconded by Councillor Shantz. We will now take a vote for the Committee of the Whole to consider reports. If you would please use e-scribe to vote. Colleagues, that is carried. Craig Dyer, Commissioner of Corporate Services and Chief Financial Officer, is available to answer any questions on finance reports. It is 11.1.1 through to 11.2. If I could have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Erb, seconded by Councillor Salonen. Please use your e-scribe to vote. On the finance reports, I see no questions. Colleagues, that is carried. The next item under consideration are committee reports. And there is a closed committee. We need a mover and a seconder and these are recommendations from closed committee to be approved. And one deals with a settlement Keyswetter Excavating Inc. and the region, where the region will pay Keyswetter the sum of $700,000 inclusive of all compensation, holdbacks, interest, lease interests and costs, with the regional solicitor having all the authority to execute the settlement documents. If I could have a moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Shantz. I see no speakers, so please use your e-scribe to vote. That is carried, colleagues. Next item is Planning and Work Summary, November 7th, 2023. And there are items on this summary 1 through 5. If I could have a mover and a seconder. We have a Councillor James, seconded by Councillor Foxton. Please use your e-scribe to vote. The motion is before you. There's a few of them. That is carried, colleagues. Next agenda item is Administration and Finance Summary, November the 7th. And it's to approve the summary of the Administration and Finance Committee meetings from that date. Councillor James has a conflict on item 3, so we will vote to approve the first 2 items and then vote on item 3 separately. But I could have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Hunick, seconded by Councillor Shantz, and these are the first 2 items. If you would use your e-scribe to vote. That is carried, colleagues. We will now vote on item number 3, moved and seconded by the same 2 councillors. That is carried, colleagues. Next agenda item is Board of Health Respiratory Season Update, and I would ask Dr. Wong to provide an update. Welcome, Dr. Wong.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. Good evening, councillors. So, Public Health continues to monitor respiratory virus activity reported by health sector partners in our community, hospitals, and congregate living settings. At this time, there continues to be elevated COVID-19 activity in the region, and we expect this to fluctuate from week to week during the respiratory season. RSV and influenza activity remain low at this time. Consistent with COVID-19 wastewater trends in the Central West region of Ontario, the COVID-19 signal at Kitchener remains elevated but has plateaued, and the signal at Cambridge is also elevated but decreasing. Wastewater signals continue to be dominated by the latest subvariants. Along with the usual respiratory viruses, we are also seeing an increase in what's known as invasive group A streptococcus infection. So that's a mouthful. And this is something we're seeing across the province. So group A strep is a common bacteria that causes infections such as sore throat, also known as strep throat, and minor skin infections, but it can also rarely cause very serious infections. So staying up to date with immunizations is always helpful, but it can also be helpful for strep A as well, as influenza and chickenpox increase the risk of invasive group A streptococcus. We encourage anyone who isn't up to date with their vaccines to go to their healthcare provider, pharmacy, or our clinic. Our clinics for COVID-19 and influenza have been available since mid-October, and these vaccines are now widely available in our community. As of December the 1st, we'll be transitioning our clinics to focus on children less than 5 years of age who may not be able to access the COVID-19 vaccine through their primary care provider or pharmacy. This will allow us to open up more appointments for children who are not up to date with their other immunizations. As I mentioned last time, we will be proceeding with enforcement of the Immunization of School Pupils Act for the first time since the pandemic next year. Letters advising parents that their child is not up to date with their immunizations started being sent out at the beginning of November and will continue until mid-January. Students whose records are not up to date by early 2024 will receive notice of school suspension letters beginning in February for elementary grades and April for secondary grades. Those who receive a notice will have 4 weeks to get their child's vaccine records up to date, or the child will face a school suspension. And finally, to avoid suspension, we encourage parents to check their child's vaccine records to make sure they're up to date, report all mandatory vaccines to Region of Waterloo Public Health. This can be done online through our regional website, and see a healthcare provider or book into a public health clinic for any vaccine that the child may have missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Councillor Salonen.
I just wanted to quickly say thank you so much to Shuli and her team. I know that you had the mobile vaccination bus out in Wilmot the other week, and I got some really wonderful feedback from the community. So just wanted to publicly acknowledge that you guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass that along to the team. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that great comment, Councillor Salonen, and Dr. Wong. Thank you, as always, to you and your team for all the great work. Next agenda item is other matters under Committee of the Whole. A motion for the Committee of Whole to rise and council to resume. But I could have a mover and a seconder. I'm looking to people on virtual screens. Would anyone like to move by Councillor Bravanovich, seconded by Councillor Williams? Please use your e-scribe to vote. And you're voting on the Committee of the Whole to rise and council to resume. That is carried. Councillor Foxton and e-scribe are having a difference of opinion, it appears. I will now entertain a motion to adopt proceedings of Committee of the Whole. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Foxton, seconded by Councillor Craig. Please use your e-scribe to vote that council adopt the proceedings of the Committee of the Whole. So that is carried, colleagues. We have no motions. There was a notice of motion, but my understanding is, Councillor Salonen, you have withdrawn that motion.
I just make a comment on that, though?
Yes, you may make a comment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I did withdraw my notice of motion. I just wanted to clarify because I know some people were asking why, and it was because the province, specifically the Minister of Housing, did make it clear as to whom he wanted to respond, and it, in essence, covered the motion that I was putting forward. So,
thank you very much for providing that context. There is no unfinished business. I have no other business. Closed all council's education session. We will now start a vote to go into closed session for all council education session, and this will be on December the 8th, 2023. So this is for a future closed education session, not for tonight. So if I could have a moved by Councillor Hunick, seconded by Councillor Shantz. So we are voting on that closed meeting of council be held on Friday, December the 8th, 2023 at 1 p.m. at the Regional Council chambers and electronically in accordance with Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 for the purposes of considering the following subject matters: education related to Indigenous history and reconciliation. And that was a long enough motion that you were all successfully able to support it while I was reading it. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I would now entertain a motion to enact bylaws for second and third readings. If I could have a mover, moved by Councillor Hunick, seconded by Councillor Wolf. And we are voting on the bylaws 20.1, 20.2 through to 20.5. Colleagues, that is carried, and I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Williams. Please use your e-scribe to vote. We're not adjourning till Councillor Foxton gets to vote. Thank you, colleagues. Everyone have a wonderful evening.
Good night.